moment from the subject of restoration. Restoration. Restoration is a very interesting topic, especially in the time that we live in today, Pastor Fuller, in which everybody wants everything new. Everybody wants a home that's already done up and already furnished when they go into it. Everybody wants, when folk are looking for a church or a church home, they want to go to a church that has everything already in it, where the ministries are already flourishing, where the pastor has already reached his pinnacle of preaching, to where the deacons are operating at full capacity, to where the children's ministry is already full, the choir loft doesn't have an empty seat, and everything in the church is going perfectly. You see, we live in a time where everybody wants everything already done. You see, but restoration is oftentimes viewed as getting back what you once have lost. But the truth is that restoration is not only getting back what you lost, but restoration is getting back what you lost and then some. I think some of y'all missed that. You see, when something is restored, its value becomes greater than what it was before you restored it. If I restore a 1965 Chevy, minister, I could probably get about 80 grand for it right now. But back in 65, prophet, that 65 Chevy was only worth about 8 grand. See, restoration is not only getting back what you lost, but restoration is getting back more than what you lost. Restoration is a messy process. Nobody likes to get their hands dirty and to roll up their sleeves and to do the work and to gut the building and to put up the floors and to pull the walls down to restore something. Yeah. We like everything already made. Yes. You see, restoration, if you've ever tried to restore an old house, sometimes it's much easier to just buy a new house than to restore an old one. Sometimes it's better to just start a new relationship than try to restore the one that you've been in, and it feels like that it's hitting sour. Come on, I can't even talk to some real folks in here. I know you're all saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost, but sometimes we don't want to go through a restoration process. See, because restoration takes time. Restoration takes effort. Restoration takes some hurt. Restoration takes some pain. Restoration will cause you to get some calluses in your hands and some bruises on your knees. Restoration is a messy process. See, sometimes it will save you time, it will save you money, it will save you heartache, it will save you a lot of things if you can just start off fresh and new. But there is something so much more valuable in restoring something that was once opposed to starting off new. See, when you begin to strip away the wallpaper, and the chip paint and the cracked sheetrock, you begin to envision the architecture's original design, and you're able to enjoy the beauty in which the architect's mind was when they first designed the building. See, and you're not only able to enjoy the beauty of that time, but you have an opportunity to add character, to add culture, and to add value to the way you want it to be. You see, I live in a raised ranch over in the town of Newburgh behind the wall somewhere. I don't want to see none of y'all crazy folk popping up at my house. You see, I live in a raised ranch. It's a regular old house, but I realize, Pastor Fuller, that anybody can live in a raised ranch. You see, but it takes somebody, preacher, with a special character to live in an can live in a raised ranch. Anybody can design a raised ranch. Anybody can furnish a raised ranch. But it takes somebody with a special character in order to live in an old Victorian home. Yes. It takes someone who has culture, who has character, to see those attributes that money and Raymore Flanagan can't buy. See, things in a Victorian home, you can't go to Ashley Furniture to buy. To furnish a Victorian home, you can't go to Bob's Furniture. Not for a Victorian home. You see, there's special codes, there's special things, there's certain things that you need to put in a Victorian home in order for it to match its decor. Are y'all with me? Yeah. It takes somebody who has culture, who has character, to see those attributes that money can't buy, and it requires interest and investing time to learn about it. The 85th Psalm gives us some clarity on how we can become restored when we become run down and spiritually abandoned buildings. We know that sometimes we become spiritual abandoned buildings at times. First thing we see here in this psalm is that restoration requires a past. In verse 1, it says here, right in the text, the psalmist says, Lord, you poured out your blessings on your land. You see, restoration requires a past, but not always so a good one. You see, you cannot bring back to life or revive something that has not been previously dead. A car collector, pastor, would never restore a vintage car that's already in good condition. You see, in order to be restored, it requires some things in your life to be in bad shape. You see, you've got to have some dings. You've got to have some dings. You've got to have some broken relationships. You've got to have some money problems. You've got to have some financial problems. You've got to have some people problems. You've got to have some drug problems or some alcohol problems. You've got to have some problems in your life in order for you to be restored. You've got to, you have to have some people in your life antagonizing you. You've had to have some people betray you or break your heart. You've had to been through something in order for you to be broken and fell down, in order for you to be picked back up and restored again. You had to have some friends betray you and talk about you behind your back. You had to have some people run around and tell your business, your confidential business that you shared with them, in order for you to be restored. See, you cannot lift up what has not been put down. You cannot encourage what has not been discouraged. You see, we want to celebrate the good times in life without celebrating the disappointments in life. See, but I realize without disappointment, there is no celebration and victory. In order for a doctor to revive or bring back a patient, the patient must have first been dead or flatlined. In order for your finances to be revived, you must have first had to have some financial problems, or you had to have been broke at one time or another in order to be revived. Come on, I know everybody in here, baby, got 0, 0, 0, 0, but I know there's somebody in here who had to eat some ramen noodles at some time. I know there's somebody in here who had to eat some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I know there's somebody in here who had to eat drink some pure water, or had to eat some hot dogs for a month. I came to talk to some real folks who had some symptoms, who had some money problems, or who had some issues, who had to maybe go to their neighbor and ask for a loaf of bread or some help or something. At one point or another, you had to get some help, or you was down and out at one time. restored, things had to have been a little on the rocks. Yes. Or the log had to go flat. Yes. It's interesting that the psalmist is speaking in past tense here. He's speaking about the Israelites' past of being free. See, restoration not only occurs when you can think back to the times that God has blessed you, but restoration occurs when you also thank God when he has blessed somebody else. Amen. That you can benefit from that blessing. Amen. See, sometimes I got to ask myself in 2018 when is the last time that we thank God for how he blessed grandma and grandpa? Amen. When's the last time we thank God for how he poured out blessings on the previous pastors and church mothers and church elders and the people that labored over the years for us to be able to stand in these sanctuaries that we stand in? Yeah. See, but there's a critical warning concerning the past that you need to take heed to. See, when God is trying to do something new with you, and he's trying to restore and upgrade your operating system, your thinking, I should say. You have to store the past on an external hard drive or in the cloud. Some of y'all missed that. You see, you got to be careful of mixing your old way of thinking with the new operating system that God is downloading into you. You see, you can't put new wine in old wineskins. See, but it's good to keep the data stored separately so that you can glance every once in a while at those files so you don't forget where God has brought you from. Yeah. You see, because I've learned one thing, especially with Christians, with our folk, that one of the side effects to success is amnesia. See, sometimes when church folk get successful, when we get a little buzz and God gives us a little promotion, we tend to forget where we came from. Yeah. We start acting all bougie. We start acting like we can't say hi to people. We start acting like we can't touch people's hands. We start acting like we too good for certain folks. Come on, y'all know what I'm talking about. Come on, you know when people get elevated, when they get low positions. Last week they were the usher, now this week they a bishop, and now they can't even say hi to folks. Last week you was taking a bus and now God has blessed you. He got you a little Nissan and now you poking your nose up at people. Hold on. You still barely got enough gas to fill it up. But yet God has blessed you and gave you an increase. Now you too good for food. We couldn't get you out to church on Sunday. Now God bless you with a little car. You was walking to church. You was taking a bus to church. Now you ain't got no time for service. Now Sunday you're there to watch your car. Yeah, Sunday is my day now to do my laundry. That's what they say. Before you was at the altar every Sunday, on your knees, begging God to bless you with a car, begging God to bless you with a begging God to bless you with a man, begging God to bless you with a husband. Now God give you a man and now you ain't got time for God. Oh my God. Oh Jesus. That's what I'm talking about. Spiritual amnesia. Second thing that restoration requires. First, restoration requires a past. Second thing restoration requires is a plea. Psalmist says, he says, restore us again, O God. See, the psalmist realized that restoration requires a plea unto God. And he realized that the only one who is capable of fully restoring us is God himself. Yeah. Yeah. You see, when we rely on people to try to restore us, what happens is we get stuck in the restore process. You ever try to restore a computer? and you end up unplugging it from the wall, and the restore process gets stuck. That's what happens when we rely on people to try to restore. See, we begin with God during the restoring process, and we unplug from God, and we try to put the plug into people. And what happens is we get stuck in the process. And no matter how much anybody knows you, or how much somebody makes you happy, when you reach a point where you're completely broken, only God can fully restore you. I don't care if it's your wife, I don't care if it's your husband, I don't care if it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your friends or your family members, your church workers or co-workers, your psychiatrist, your teacher, your pastor, your doctor, your lawyer, your cheerleading coach, your basketball coach, your tutor, your dog groomer, your barber, your hairstylist, your massage therapist, your loan officer, your car salesman, your favorite waitress, your IT technician. Can none of those people fully restore you?
Amen. Amen.
Money can't restore you. Alcohol can't restore you. Drugs can't restore you. Even though they legalize weed can't restore you. Louis Vuitton can't restore you. Tory Burch can't restore you. Gucci can't restore you. Meslin can't restore you. Getting shoes can't restore you. Cars can't restore you. Houses can't restore you. Only God himself. You've got to realize that there are new beginnings, new blessings, new anointings, new journeys, new chapters for each and every one of us every day that we wake up. There's a new position on the job waiting for you. There's an honor roll certificate waiting for you. There's a college diploma waiting for you. There's a book that's waiting for you to finish it. But you've allowed you needing to be restored to hinder you from doing what God has called you to do. The psalmist then says, revive us again. But listen to what he says. He says, revive us again so that we can rejoice in you. You see, I realize that it's hard to rejoice when you're spiritually dead. It's hard to rejoice when your spiritual life has been flatlined. It's hard to rejoice in the Lord when you come to church and everybody's joy is dead. It's hard to rejoice when the choir's zeal is flatlined. It's hard to rejoice when the enthusiasm of the choir and the leaders to serve God is just minimized to nothing, where people just become robots and we just do it out of habit, and it's just a redundancy, and there's no real power, there's no real zeal, there's no real enthusiasm, there's no real I want to do this for God, and no matter what you do to me, no matter what you say to me, I'm going to serve God, and I'm going to serve him to the best of my ability. See, a lot of times we allow circumstances to dictate how we serve God.
That's right.
We give God our leftovers sometimes because somebody got on our nerves. So I ain't going to show up now. God, I'm going to treat you how people treat me.
Oh, God.
God, the people in the church treat me wrong, so I'm going to treat you wrong. See, it's hard to rejoice when the spirit of the deacons and leaders is separated and dead. It's hard to rejoice when the smiles of the ushers have gone flat. See, you can get away with praise and worship on Sunday morning. But in order to have a real revival to take place, you've got to have some joy in your life. Just like our cellular devices, we come into God daily through the reading of his word, through the preached word. But after a while, your battery life cycle will totally deplete, and just a regular plug-in charge won't work. You're going to have to come to a point where there's just a redundancy of going to church and going home. You've got to realize that there's got to be more. There's got to be more than me just showing up and me just singing a hymn. And me just turning around and wanting a 2-hour service and expecting God to make a change in my life.
All right.
There's got to come a time where we fully surrender and say, God, God, I'm surrendering every avenue of my life to you. God, take hold of me. God, take total control of me. Take control of my thoughts. Take control of my actions. And I don't care if I've got to go through hell and high water. I'm going to serve you regardless. Couple more points and I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to get on the road back to Newburgh. So restoration requires past. Restoration requires pleading. Restoration requires pause. Verse 8, it says, I listen carefully to what God the Lord is saying. See, in order to carefully hear from God, you have got to stop and you've got to pause for a moment. See, more often than not, especially in this time that we live in this computer age, and this information age, and this materialistic society that we live in, we do more moving and shaking and hustling and bustling than anything. We spend more time at work than we do at home. We spend more time than other people than we do with our own families. And more often times than not, our lives are filled with overproductivity. And we don't know when to pause and raise our hands and say, God, I need a breather for me.
Yes, Lord.
Oftentimes we try to front like everything's always good. We've mastered putting the mask on and we've mastered putting the smile on, knowing that we're broken inside, knowing that we're hurting, knowing that at any moment we're about to have a nervous breakdown, at any moment we're about to go on a psych ward and we're going to have our arms strapped up and we're going to be in a room all by ourselves, shaking our head, shaking and squirming, knowing that at any moment we're about to lose it. But we've mastered the faking because of overproductivity in our lives. We move so much that we analyze other people more than we analyze ourselves. We know more about other people's finances than we do our own. We know more about other people's personal lives than we do in our own house.
Come on. In the house.
Yes, Lord. Go ahead. See, but you've got to realize that the reason a coach calls a timeout on a team is not just for the players to get a rest, but it is also so that the coach can regroup and re-instruct the players. Listen to this. And the longer that you stay in the game, while you're exhausted without receiving instructions from the coach, the higher risk you have of getting hurt. And this is why we have so many wounded people in the church. It's because we try to do so much without taking any time out or any pausing to get instructions from the coach. You better know who your pastor is. Because your pastor is the coach. And if there are times when you stopped and analyze yourself and say, Coach, I need to be re-instructed.
Yes, God.
Then more than likely you're out of order, one. And two, you're probably exhausted just running around, running isolation plays.
Jesus.
See, we try to get everything on the run. We want 1 minute prayers. We want 1 minute devotions. We want 1 minute church service.
Come on. Yes.
And sometimes we need restoration so badly that we become Allen Iversons. And we don't even want to practice. We don't want to come to Sunday school Bible study, but we want to get in the game and run our own plays. Y'all know who Allen Iverson is, right? One of the greatest basketball players that ever played basketball. took one of the worst teams, Philadelphia 76ers, to the NBA Finals, and he got to a situation where his coach, where he wasn't showing up for practice. And Allen, I don't think he realized how important practice was, not only for him, but since he was a team leader, he needed to be there to show his leadership.
Yeah.
See, a lot of times what you do is not just about you, but it's about how you affect other people. You see, leadership is not just about telling people what to do, but leadership is about leading by example. You see, great leaders don't need to train up. All they got to do is just do it and have no watch. See, the greatest leaders are the most quietest people, because they don't even have to say anything, they just do it, and folks just watch. And Allen Iverson was in a press conference one day, and he's mad, and he's mad, and he feels like he's disrespected because the coach sat him down in the game because he didn't want to practice. And he said, y'all talking about practice? Practice? What you mean, practice? This ain't a game, this is practice. See, but Allen, you don't understand, not everybody has the same ability that you have. And you are the number one player on the team. You are the team leader. And what you do affects the other players. So if they think you don't have to come to practice, then what in the world makes them think that they got to come to practice?
All right.
If you ain't coming to service on Sunday, deacon, what makes you think that the ushers think they got to come to service?
Jesus.
If you ain't coming to Bible study, preacher, what makes you think that anybody else think they got to come to Bible study? Sometimes we don't want to utilize our other teammates, and we want to run isolation plays and do everything by ourselves and do it by our own way. But being isolated will only get us hurt. Fourth thing we see here is restoration requires a passion. I'm taking my seat. Now, I'm not a traditional Baptist preacher, but when I say I'm going to take my seat, that means I'm going to take it. Most times if a Baptist preacher tell you you're going to take your seat, you might as well go get another drink. Not alcohol. Verse 10 says, "And unfailing love and truth have met together, and righteousness and peace have kissed. And though when something is restored, its value increases." Most individuals that restore things don't do it just because they want to do it. Most people that restore things do it because they have a passion to do it. See, if you see a vintage car in some man's garage and he restored it, it's because he had a passion to restore it. And I don't care how much money you offer him. You could have a blank check in your pocket. You could offer him $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion. If that man spent his heart, sweat, and tears restoring that vehicle, then guess what? It ain't for sale.
Amen.
And when we love and truth meet in our lives, we obtain a passion for God and a passion for the things of God, and it can't be compromised or bargained or for sale. See, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, and mentally, we must desire to become what God wants us to be, and not what we want us to be. See, God is saying tonight, I believe that God is looking for a man. God is looking for a woman. God is looking for a young person that has a passion for God to let him use them. God is looking for passion because passion overrides what you feel or think. Passion overrides your circumstances. Passion overrides your lack thereof. Passion overrides your haters. Passion overrides your fake friends. Passion overrides the subject in school that you're struggling with, because sometimes we don't feel like doing anything. Sometimes we don't feel victorious, but our passion pushes us to go on anyhow. Sometimes we don't feel like going to church, but because of passion, we go on anyhow. Sometimes we don't feel like praying, but because of passion, we just pray anyhow. Sometimes we don't feel like studying, but because of the passion that is built up inside of us, we study anyhow. You see, on the inside, it may not look like or feel like you don't have victory, But if there's a passion burning inside of you, if truth and love have met inside of you, if righteousness and peace have kissed on the inside of you, there is something shut up in your bones that just has to get out. Something that refuses to be silent, and something that refuses to quit. You see, you may not be where you want to be right now, and you may not be doing everything that you should be doing, but it's time for that fire to blaze within you, that passion that is inside of you. You need to stand on your feet and shout unto God and say, God, I'm ready for this fire that is inside of me to be ignited. I got a new passion. I got a new joy. I got a new task. I got a new vision. You may not have victory in your situation right now, but if you have a fire of passion, hold on, and I'll guarantee you that victory is going to come. Passion will bring you into situations and cause you to do things that you aren't supposed to be able to do. You see, the 3 Hebrew boys never should have been dancing in that fire. But I tell you what happened. It was passion that happened inside of them. See, what happens when a congregation of people stands to their feet and says it's not happening the way that I want it to right now. I can't really see the vision the way that I want to see it, but I have a passion for God to do something miraculous in my life. You see, your passion will get God to move, and your passion will get God to stop. You see, when you are consumed with the passion, it's like a fire that's shut up in your bones, and you won't let it quit. You won't let it stop until you get it out of you. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't care what anybody else does. I don't care, but I have a passion for God to restore me. I have a passion for God to renew me. And if you have a passion for the things of God, I'm declaring that you're not going home the same way that you came into this service. You got to say, I got a passion to be refueled. I got a passion to be recharged. I got a passion to be reconnected. I got a passion to be restored. Restoration is messy. Restoration takes time. Restoration will get your knuckles bruised. Restoration will give you some calluses. Restoration will get your knees bruised up. But when the process is complete, the value is worth much more than it was when you first encountered it. Come on and give God some praise.